Yeah, right, lads. Today we're just going to do a little bit of a fun video because I'm either waiting on parts, waiting on tools, or waiting on payday, because you know how it gets. So I thought I'd just make a video of every car that I've ever owned. So, to start off, my first ever car was a 1996 Clio. It was blue, and I passed my test when I was 17. And I was saving up for a car. I managed to save up about £300 for the car. So at that point, I passed my test. I was just eager to start driving, So I looked for the first car under £300, close enough to me, and I found a blue 90. I think it might have been a P-Reg blue Clio, and I got that and I went to pick it up. I didn't care what. I genuinely didn't care what it had, what was wrong with it. As long as it drove, I didn't care. I got it, got the insurance that night, and I just went off in it. I just went off in it. Kind of a mistake rushing into the first car that you buy. Big mistake. I don't recommend anyone doing it just to rush into drive, because you will get bored of the car. And so I did. But I had that car, I'd say for about 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. And at that point I didn't know anything about modding cars, didn't know anything. So the first thing I did, I got some black alloys off eBay, not alloys but you know, the wheel trims. I got a pair of black wheel trims off eBay, stuck them on, didn't even cable tie them, because at that point I didn't even think you would need to cable tie them. Yeah, so after the black wheel trims, that was as far as my knowledge went, to be honest. I didn't even know you could lower cars at that point. I just thought they came standard like that. I didn't even know about exhaust. Actually, that's a lie. I did know about exhausts, but I didn't know how exhaust worked. So what I ended up doing was I ended up buying, do you know the adapters you can get off eBay that you put onto the end of your tailpipe and make your car look better? I thought that made your exhaust sound louder. So I got one of them off eBay for like £9, stuck it on as you do, and then you just spin the teeth into the end of the exhaust. And I remember getting my mates rev it, and I was like, oh, it sounds good that, mate, sounds good that, mate. And then the next thing I did was I got some blue neons. I just got a glue gun, and I stuck them to the inside of the, don't know where I stuck them to, but I stuck them underneath, well, you can see. Stuck them underneath there, and then I literally, I put the positive into a fuse, a cigarette lighter. It's good that I knew how to put it into a cigarette lighter fuse. And then I can't remember where I put the earth, but they worked. They did actually work. They fell off all the time when I was driving. But yeah, at that point, that was the best mod ever. The one thing I didn't like about the car was how old it was. All my mates were getting like 55 plate Clios, and I thought at that point that was like the best car in the world. So, and the clutch on that car was so heavy. Clios have got a cable clutch, but the clutch is all stiff on Clios. But that thing was horrendous. Like, I remember it was horrible to set off. It was almost hard to drive, and I wanted something a bit chabbier. And then I came across that, and I seen it, and it was up for 500 quid, and I was like, oh my god. And I fell in love with it. And I remember getting straight in my car, I went looking at it, and fell in love with it. It was a shit tip, but I fell in love with it. It was just the chabbiest thing that I've ever seen, and it was just the coolest thing that I've ever seen. Like, the paint job was like a two-tone blue, sparkly, purple and green, and it was lowered. Obviously it weren't that bloody lowered, but to me it was lowered. And it had HIDs, and at that point I didn't even know what HIDs were. And it had these LEDs on the front, purple LEDs, and oh, it was so bad. The spray tint was spray tint in the back, and it was horrendous. Had a massive dent on the side. To be fair, it ran alright, the engine ran alright, but the brakes were terrible. And I remember at this point I didn't have 500 quid. And I remember I was like, I need this car. Trying to lend something mum, and it was taking a couple of days because she weren't really impressed with the car. Anyway, and then the guy texted me and he said, look, I need it gone tonight, I'll give you it for 300. And I thought, oh my god. So I put my car on Gumtree that night for £300, or it might have been £250, I had 50 quid in the bank, and I was like, look, I need it gone tonight. Like, I need it gone tonight. Someone just come buy this blue Clio off me. Anyway, about an hour later, some lads rang, I can't remember the phone, they were from Manchester. They came down, about 6 of them, they was all smoking weed in my front garden while they was looking at it. And I was like, oh my god, what's going on here? Anyway, they took the car, and I even threw in the aux cable for them because I really wanted it to go. Anyway, I got this cash, rang a mate, take me for this car now, mate. Went and got the car, bought the car. Oh, it was the most fun drive I've ever had. It was low and it was bouncing all over the place and it was proper loud. And that was the happiest. I was so happy at that moment. I was so happy. And then I went driving it around for the night, you know, showing the lads. I remember the horn didn't work. I remember pressing the horn, it weren't working. If you smack the horn, like, it goes, and that was funny. Anyway, got the car home the next day. The brakes were horrendous. Got the next day, and at that point I was at that age where I was getting insurance quotes of like £7,000 or £8,000 to go on my own name. So at that point I was on my mum's insurance. It was under my mum's name. At that point, of course, you said you didn't have any mods, because you know, 7-8 grand for a normal Clio. Imagine what they charged me for that thing. So my mum didn't let me do it. My mum was like, no, I'm not putting my name under that car on the insurance, understandably. So I ended up putting it for sale because I couldn't insure it. I remember just like going and just turning it over my drive and just reversing and then going forward. And I went to Mackey's once, which is literally like half a mile down the road, and I felt like a badass. So I ended up putting it for sale. And I put it for sale for £500 actually. So I bought it for 300, and a couple of days later I had a few phone calls that night, and then someone came around that night and bought it off me for £500. So I made 200 quid. I was absolutely buzzing at that point. And then the next Clio I found for sale was that one, 1.2 petrol, and it had alloys and it weren't a shit tip, you know. It was actually quite a good car. So I went and bought that £500. Really happy lad again. Third Clio. Don't know why I liked Clios. Did a lot to it. Well, for a 17-year-old lad, it was a lot. Hardly. At that point, sticker bombing was in. Sticker bombing was a really big thing. And at that point, I couldn't afford wrap. At that point, I didn't even know what a wrap was. At that point, I was working, and there was a guy there, and his van was full on. It was full sticker bombed. And I said, "How'd you do that, mate?" And he was like, "Wrap cost you about £1,000." I thought, "Oh my god!" And he was like, "Just if you're only doing a little bit, you want a cheap way, go to Asda, buy a sticker book, a children's sticker book, stick them on, and then spray it with some lacquer after." And I thought, "Oh my god!" Went to Asda, £2.50, a bit more than I wanted to spend. I thought it would have been a quid. £2.50 for a kid's sticker book, and then I did it on the car park of Toby Carver. I did it on the car park of Toby Carver with my mates. Did that, sprayed lacquer on it, didn't even mask, just sprayed lacquer over it. And it looked like, I fell in love with it. It looked cool. I put some little bit of stickers on the back as well. And then the next thing I did to that car was it had a standard radio in, so I got a cheap radio off eBay for £10. Oh wait, probably like £20 actually. Put that in, took me about a full day, impressed with that I put it in. And then I thought, right, I need a colour code of this. I need a colour code with this car. So I got some red spray paint from Halfords, and everything I could take off, I painted. I put some red neons inside there in the footwells. So at this point I was loving the car, you know, it was cool. And then I thought, I need to sound like nice. At this point my knowledge of exhaust stepped up a little bit. So I bought that exhaust off eBay for £40. Took me about a full day. There's the old exhaust cut off, bumper off at the back. I don't really think I needed to do that, but I just wanted some more space. It was so loud, it was so stupid. The car looked stupid. Look at me, the red door handles as well on the outside, stupid. And then, one day when I was driving to college, my gasket went. I had to scrap it. And at this point, this is when I was out of a car I had to get lifts off my mates everywhere, or get my mum to lift me everywhere. Yeah, so I was out of the car for a while. At that point, I had a girlfriend, and it was so embarrassing not being able to drive anywhere or do anything fun. I hated it, and at that point I was still in college, so I was only working like 1 day a week, 2 days a week. So I was just begging my mum to help me out, do you know what I mean? I begging her to get a car for herself, but put me on the insurance, because she said she doesn't like her car, and she had an MG ZR at that point, and I think it was a 1.8. There's no way I was getting insured on that. So then my stepdad was like, right, well, if we're gonna get a car, we're not gonna get a petrol, because he's not a big fan of petrols. He likes a diesel. He likes the mileage you get. So he's looking for a diesel. And me at that point, I was like, no, because you can get so many cheaper petrols. So many cheaper petrols. At that point, diesels were actually going for a lot of money. So like you could have found a Clio petrol for like 400 quid. Whether you want a diesel, a good decent diesel, you have to spend about 1,000 to 1,500. I'm a the type of person that doesn't rush into buying a car like I do, so I was like, for fuck's sake, this is going to take ages, I just want a car. So anyway, I started looking every single minute of every single day, trying to find a car that would fit his idea of a good car. And then we come across this blue Clio. It was a 1.5 diesel, a DCI one, turbo, mate. First turbo car? Well, hardly. Yeah, we went seeing it. You know, I was just that person. I want to come. I just want to tell him everything good about the car. Yeah, it's got that. Do you know what I mean? Just try and pressure him to make a decision. Anyway, after about the longest half an hour of my life, we got it. And we had that conversation of, right, don't make this one look stupidly, you know. It's technically your mum's car. Don't put a big exhaust on it. Don't make it look bad. And then obviously at the start I was like, yeah, I'm not going to touch it. So after about a month, I started getting bored of how standard it was. And then I remember thinking of things I could do to it. At this point, the only thing I could do to a car is wheels and exhaust. That's it. That's all my mind went to. I remember I was like, well, I can't get alloys. I can't put exhaust on it because it's my mum's car. I didn't want to make it look stupid. So I thought, right, well, we can paint things. And then this is when I first discovered Plastidip. So initially I bought about 4 cans of white Plastidip and I painted the wheels white. Took them off, give them a clean, painted them white, and they look good. They look good on the car. And then after about a month of driving around with white wheels, it didn't stand out enough for me. I started looking at unique combinations on Google, and I remember just typing in blue car red wheels, blue car black wheels, blue car orange wheels, blue car green wheels. So I typed in blue car green wheels, and I remember the first car that came up, it was a Subaru. It was I think it might have been a Hawkeye at that point. Subaru Hawkeye, and it was blue and it had green wheels. Oh, it looks well cool. So what did I do? I painted the bloody wheels green in Plastidip. Anyway, that's all I did to that car, really. I just thought it looked cool enough with the green wheels. I kept that through my first year of uni. So I went to university, I left it with my mum, of course. And then I came back for the summer, and that car was still there. I put it back on the insurance for the summer. So I had my blue Clio with green wheels for the summer. God, I was 18 at this point. What was I thinking of, man? Second year of uni, my mum got a new car. She didn't want that car, so she sold it on to my sister. She's still got it now. This has been about 3 or 4 years. Never done an oil change. Never done a service. Never done anything to it, and it's still running. No idea how, but it is still running. I took the green off. Took me fucking ages to get the green off. It didn't just peel off. I did like 2 layers. I had to like scratch it for about 3 hours with microfiber cloth. Horrible. Anyway, and at that point I thought, well, there's no point in me buying a new car while I'm at uni, because I can't afford to insure myself when I'm at university. I have no money to pay for this car. So I was in a family. We had a spare car, and it was just like a little runaround, and it was a Citroen C5. That's what it was. It was a blue Citroen C5. You know, hated the car. I just absolutely hated the car. Didn't like the car, but it was something to get me A to B. At that point, I was hugely focused on the gym. At that point, so as long as I had something to get me from home to the gym, then that's all I didn't care about. I knew it was only a couple months while I was at summer, so I didn't do any mods to that car or anything like that. Then I went back to my 3rd year of uni, and then I finished my 3rd year uni in March. I could have stayed in my flat in Liverpool until June, but I was sick of it at that point. Sick of living like a tramp, sick of never having any money, so I came home. And at that point, I came home at March or April, end of March, start of April. And it was my birthday in May. I had never had a big present for my birthday. My 18th, I didn't want anything. She was like, right, okay. My sister had a car for her birthday, you can have one. We'll give you £1,000. And I thought, great, do you know what I mean? So I started looking for something nice then. And that's when I was looking for something a bit quicker, so I was looking for a 1.6. Looking for something around 1.6, you know, still getting short, but it was still nippier than anything that I've ever owned. And that's when I got a black Fiesta Ztec S. I got that from Bradford. It was 1,400 quid, my mum gave me an extra 400. And I had fun with that car, I had loads of fun with that car. And the wheels were already white on it. So I got that home, loved the car, started driving it around for a bit. I put the air intake on like you do. Right? It was a green one off eBay for like £6. The cheap exhaust strip where you cut off the muffler, go to the scrapyard, find a bit of pipe for £1 and then put on a nice tip. Did that, easy, sounded nice, and then I wanted to lower the car. But at that point, I didn't have enough knowledge to lower it. I tried it myself. I tried getting off the strut on the front, but they weren't. The nuts were just absolutely welded on. I couldn't get them. I even went to the garage and I went, "Please, can you just loosen them so I can like drive home and do it myself?" He couldn't even loosen them. He's like, and so I just thought, you know what, do it yourself. He offered me a good deal. He said he'd fit all 4 springs for £70. So I thought, great, do you know what I mean? Perfect. £70, fitted all 4 springs for me, and then I drove back and I remember looking at the car coming off the ramp and I just fell in love with it again. It wasn't stupidly low, but to me it was low. I fell in love with it, you know, black on the white. And then, so I was happy with that car for about 5 months, I'd say. I've never owned a car more than 6 months. 5 months. So then that was when I got a girlfriend. She was older than me. She had a kid. And she always hinted at the fact that she didn't like that car. That, you know, it was a pain in the ass getting I'm not gonna say his name, but getting a child in and out. You know, it was a little bit childish because it was a little bit of a childish car. So she kind of like hinted at the idea that she wanted something a little bit bigger. I thought, right, well, I'm not gonna get a 5-door car. Said to her, like, I'm not gonna get a 5-door car. I don't like the shape of them. And I said, I'm not gonna get something not chavvy. I'm like, it's gonna be chavvy. You know what I mean? It's gonna be chavvy. So started looking online. Started going on the Swaps website because I couldn't be bothered going. I needed my car at that point. I couldn't sell it and then wait for something to pop up. I had to swap. So I was going on. I was looking at loads of different cars and I was asking for swap. Violet was on there. Violet was there. I remember looking at it and I fell in love straight away. I rang him up that second. I was like, right, have you still got it? He said, yeah, I've got a couple people come and looking at it today. And I was like, right, come with me. I don't care. I was like, we'll go in right now. So I went right now. Went right then. Seen him, middle of Manchester. Car, beautiful. I remember driving past it. It was absolutely beautiful. Fell in love with it. Purple's my favourite colour. It was so nice. And I remember looking at it. I opened the door and I sat in it, and they actually sit really low. They sit really low. So I felt the spot in it. It had Isofix, so she was happy. You know, put this child seat in nice and easily, and it was I fell in love with it. And he turned it on, and there was a ticking, like a ticking in it. And at that point, my brain was just didn't care what anyone else was saying, didn't care what the car sounded like, didn't care. Honestly, didn't even care. I just seen it with purple, and that was me. That was me. Sold, done. And then it was like I listened to bad things about the car. Like I was like, that's not good. And then like I was waiting for him to give me an option to like say, okay, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Just so I can have an excuse to take the car. And I remember he was like, oh yeah, it's just the things are tapping. I put some Wins oil in it this morning and that'll fix it. He showed me the receipt and I was like, fair enough. And then went upstairs and it got even more dodgy because he didn't have the logbook. He only had the green slip, which isn't bad because you can just give the green slip in. But the green slip had someone else's name on it, and it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, it doesn't make sense. And he was like, no, you can get the logbook if you've got the green slip. And he was like, just tip-X out the name. And I was like, bit dodgy that, you know. I was like, I don't know about that. And I was looking up online and everywhere was saying that. And yeah, you can get a log with a green slip, but I couldn't understand why there was someone else's name on it. Oh, and he took me out, and I said, take me out on it. Can you take me out on it? He said, yeah, I'll take you out on it. And he knew how to drive the car without it looking fucked. He knew how to drive the car without it looking fucked. So he drove me around. He weren't speeding in it at that point. I just thought, oh, he's a sensible guy. He weren't going fast or anything. Bad mistake. Always ask someone. Always drive it yourself, and always do a pull in the car. Always do a pull in the car. He didn't do a pull. He said to me, he was like, look, I'll take you out in it. Because I've been doing a test drive like that before and I got pulled over and I got done with the insurance. He said, I'll take you out on it. I thought, oh, that's fair enough, yeah, perfect. Took me out on it, didn't go fast. He knew how to drive the car without it looking fucked. So, got home, I thought everything was fine. So, giving my logbook to my Fiesta, signed it, and then give me the slip to the Astra. He took my key, got in my car, bang, shut straight off. And I was like, that's a bit weird. Got in the car, turned it over, instantly noticed the car had no power whatsoever. Came to a set of lights, as you do, chuck it in neutral, boom, car died. Just died, completely died. And I was like, oh my god. Turned it over, let it idle, bang, died. It would not idle. It was horrendous. At this point, my girlfriend was crying her eyes out because it was so dangerous. I had to drive all the way back from Manchester, braking with my left foot, and then like keeping the throttle up with my right foot so it didn't stall out. And obviously you're a lot like heavy footed with your left foot because you're used to pressing the clutch. So I'd always like slam on, but I'm not like, oh, it was horrendous. She was crying her eyes out. It's like, we can't take the, I'm not gonna say his name, we can't take the child out in this. I was like, oh my god. So I rang him up and I was like, look mate, you fucked me over there, give my car back. He was like, no, fuck off. I was like, look, I'll give you some money, give my car back, I can't have a child in this car, it's dangerous. He was like, no, you knew it. Tell me to fuck off, basically. At that point I thought, well, there's nothing I can do. So I drove home and I was like, and I was trying to calm her down. I was like, look, we'll fix it, it'll be fine, we'll fix it. So, got it home, showed my stepdad, the guy who takes ages to buy cars to make sure they're alright. Wasn't very impressed at all. And then we found out it had a massive vacuum leak, huge vacuum leak. Took to the garage, rocker cover gasket, gone. So, fair enough. How much did that cost? About 240 quid. 240 quid. So, got back in it, fixed. Fine. Never ran properly. It was always tapping. And I had the car for about 5 months and it ran alright. It was fine for about 5 months. And then this is quite recently now, getting up to it. Did it again. Started doing it again. Started going to limp mode. He'd be driving, he'd be fine, and it'd go, and it would just start jumping, and it just had no power. Just going to limp mode, stalling out, it's cutting out, terrible. And then I changed every single sensor in the engine bay. You know, anything that you could, not everything on the sensors. I changed changed the throttle body, changed the crankshaft sensor, camshaft sensor, cleaned out the EGR valve, mass sensor, changed out map sensor, changed that. Nothing worked. And then I went around to a mate's mechanic and we did an ECU reset. ECU reset it, even worse. It wouldn't even start up then. It would still start up, cut out straight away. And at this point, this was over like the course of a week. And then so we took the EGR valve off and the thermostat. Someone had took the thermostat out and left the fan on full. No thermostat until we thought, oh, it's got overheating problems. You know what I mean? So then we thought, oh, it's not getting temperature. So we turned the fan off and was going to wipe to a switch, thinking that if it got to temperature, it'd run good. And then that was quite embarrassing actually, because I went to a car meet and then forgot to turn the fan on. So I was driving around the car meet and then fucking steam, overheating. Was a bit embarrassing. Back to the drawing board, what the fuck is it? And then we thought, it's the ECU, like we've changed everything in the car, it's got to be the ECU. And at this point I was just totally done with the car, I just could not be arsed with it. I could have spent another 100, 200 quid on an ECU kit, had to fit it, and then it couldn't have been that. So I was like, right, I'm just going to break the car. And just out of curiosity, I was thinking, what car should I get next then? And I was thinking about 182 Clio, I was thinking about a Type R, the insurance was stupid. And I was thinking about Subaru Impreza because they weren't too bad. The 2 litre, not the WRX, just the 2 litre. And there's a Subaru up for sale for 1900. Round the corner from mine, so I thought, let's just go and have a look at it. I had no intention of buying it that day. No intention of buying it that day. Went looking at it and I was like, oh yeah, it's nice, like. And then he was like, oh, you part exchanging your car? And I was like, mate, you won't want it. Like, for the sake of what you're going to offer me, I may as well break it myself. And he was like, well, let's go and have a look. I had a look at it, offered me 500 quid for it on the spot. I was like, 500, and then in my brain I thought, I could spend months breaking it and not even get anywhere near 500 quid, and I could only make 300. So I thought, oh my god, he was like, I'll give you 500 quid for it, and I knocked £500 off for the Subaru. I was like, oh my god, perfect. So I was getting a Subaru for £1,000 really. And I said, yes, fuck it, we'll do it. At this point, I was seeing someone else. At this point, I was seeing someone, and she loved Subarus. And then I was like, in the back of my mind, I did like it, but I didn't have that much love for it. But she did, she loved it. She was like, it's a Subaru, and I was like, yeah, actually, yeah. So anyway, I got it, drove home that day, put my foot down in it, not much happened. The sound was amazing, but there's not much happen when you put your foot down. And I was trying to convince myself over the week that I liked the car, or that I would like it when I got the STI spoiler, or you'd love it when you're lowering it. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, and then I thought, yeah, all right, fair enough. I need to make it look a bit nicer. Looked at the prices for stuff. It was like £400 for a spoiler, and it was like £800 for a cheap set of coilovers. I thought, I'm not going to spend that money on something that I don't really like. And then I went to my mum and I was like, Mum, I don't like it. And I only had it for about 6 days at this point. She was like, just get it out on finance, get something you like on finance. I was always going through shit cars at this point. And then I went look at some STs. I went look at some STs for the price that I wanted, under £2,000. You know, so there weren't a big leap to pay between the Subaru and the ST. And I didn't like it. I went seeing a few standard ones about 1900, 1800. Didn't like them. Standard ones bored the fuck out of me. They weren't very nice. They weren't lowered. They were just boring cars, really. And then I thought about getting a Megane 225. I did a spreadsheet on my computer of like what car would be best. So I did like 5 categories. I did price of the car, insurance, 0 to 60 time. 2 other categories can't do. And then the car with the overall lowest score. That's what I'm gonna look for. And the Megane was the overall lowest score. Well, the Megane and the Fiesta ST got the joint top. They both got 1. And I went looking at Megane 225. And God, it was fast, but it was a shithole. It was an absolute shithole in my price range anyway. Well, at that point, I thought in my price range. And I just didn't like the interior. I sat inside it and I just really did not like the interior at all. It just didn't feel like a sports car inside. So I didn't like it. Anyway, I went back to the ST and I thought, oh, I've got to get an ST, you know, the fun little nippy cars. And then I seen one around the corner from mine. It was highly modified. It was £3,000, more than I wanted to spend. Went looking at it just to spark my interest in STs, you know. And went seeing it. It's one I've got now. Fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. You know, I went driving it and I thought, fuck, the fastest car I've ever been in. Fastest car I've ever been in. It was a hell of a lot faster than the standard ones I drove earlier in the day. And it was so fun. It had everything I already done that I would want to do to it. Because I'm the type of person that would take ages to lower it, ages to put a good exhaust on it. And then I said, how much would you take for mine? And he offered me more than what I paid for the car initially. So excluding the £500 that I got rid of my Astra, because in my head that was nothing anyway, because it was going to scrapyard. So he offered me £1,250 for it. £1,250 for my Subaru, and I thought, oh, I've got to do it. So we agreed to it, and then, but the only thing bad about my car was he said he got it from a repossession, so it didn't have any paperwork, but it had all the, it was a proper dealer, and he had all the online, it had, you know, everything's online now, so it had all the tax online sorted, MOT sorted, April coming up soon, need to sort that out. And then I got that car, drove it home, and it was one of the most fun days of my life. And I'm still loving it. I think I've owned the car for about, well, it's January and I got it, so January, February, March. Oh, we're coming to about 3 months now that I've owned the car. And I still love it. Got, you know, I've talked about the car anyway. It's got the exhaust, it's been remounted, intakes, etc, etc, etc. And there's a couple of things that I want to do, I've got coming up to do to it, which will be pretty fun. But for now, I'm happy with that car. I can see me owning that car longer than any car I've ever owned. The Astra was the one that I owned the longest. That was for about 6 months, 7 months. This I'm already on 3 and it only feels like I got the car yesterday. Now next, what I want next, I'm either going to go something turboed, like a Focus ST, or I'm going to wait and go down a Japanese line of it, you know, S13s, S14s. Something along them lines. I'm not quite sure yet. I don't want to say anything because I'm the type of person that just flicks my mind all the time. I have different, you know, I'm that type of person. I have no idea how long this video is going to be because I have been waffling for a long time. But hope you enjoyed this. It's nice to have a look back at some pictures of my old cars and what I used to be and how stupid I was. But you know, it's how you grow, isn't it? It's how you grow. So thanks for watching, lads. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you next time.